This is episode 67 of the Out of the Minds podcast. And unfortunately, we're a bit different this week. Sam is on holiday up in Scotland. So I've dragged Scottishman Tony to join me this evening.
Hello, everyone.
So Sam and I actually had a game recorded to cover this, but I had an issue with the recording. So Tony is my emergency Sam replacement. And it's greatly appreciated that you're here.
Yep, thank you. No, thanks for having me. Thanks for the game and
Oh no, it's a pleasure.
It.
So the game we've got for you this evening is one that Tony and I played a few days ago. So we'll jump straight into that. I am still carrying on from the previous week with some First Order, and I'm still flying Crispy's list because it's good, and I might as well get some reps in with the same list before I start looking at stuff. You've also brought First Order, Tony, but something a little different.
Yeah, so obviously I've been out of X-Wing for quite a while, 18 months, something like that. This is about my fifth or sixth game back into 2.5 or 2.6 or 2.7 by the time the recording goes out. Who knows?
Well, that's true.
Really like what I see now. I think, objectives, scenarios add a different dimension to it. But I've always been First Order player. I flew a lot of SFs back in 2.0, had my little list for that. Back in, obviously, still looking at FO list, and I've seen Crispy's list or even slight variations of it. I've tried it a couple of times. I'm kind of new to chaff missiles and obviously the bombers and things like that. But it didn't really, I've not really, it's not really my style, so to speak. Maybe it'll evolve into that. So, but some of the chassis I really like. Silencers, really good chassis. I've now post this game started to get the hang of flying Kylo in the Whisper because I played in the Sith Takers League game just gone by with this sort of list. Malaris is a bit of a no-brainer. And then Breach. But you can, as you can see, the flavor of the list is all I5, just to allow me that high initiative flexibility of being able to move around. But it does have its drawbacks, which we'll probably discuss a bit later on. And it was highlighted to me in this mission in particular, which is one thing I've looked at switching this list a little bit up a bit.
So for those of you that are listening to this, Tony's brought Kylo in the Whisper with the not quite the same loadout as me. So my Kylo is Crispy's, which is the enhanced jamming suite, malice, instinctive aim, concussion missiles, predator, and optics. You've basically swapped out predator and optics for elusive and pattern analyzer.
Yeah, no, the reason for that is that I'm getting more comfortable with flying Kylo. It's a really good dial. It's they can clear stress really easily. And as we'll show later on in the game, there's a particular move that happens that is because of pattern analyzer. It allows him to be very tricksy and get into range one, line up that bullseye, and just make him a lot harder to hit. And what I found though is if your opponent's a bit more cagey, you may not get that bullseye. So therefore, you're not going to have predator, and then you've got this trade-off between advanced optics. Do you take the focus for yourself to try and get that modded shot, but therefore you could potentially lose the jam token you may have, taking you down to only 2 defense dice, which, as we know, with green dice being green dice, could be quite horrible. So I'm putting my faith into the ability to fly Kylo into better positions where he's either not getting shot, because I can boost out the way or barrel roll, but having that pattern analyzer to allow me to, if I get the bullseye up at the game I just had, I was getting lots of focus and then jamming the opponent, like I was against Morna Keen, getting rid of our reinforce, and then I'd still have, loads of shots from there. So that's my trade-off, having the flexibility of maneuverability versus the consistency you're going to get from advanced optics.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've obviously got optics, but I am finding that I'm having to boost and barrel roll quite a lot with him, which means I then don't get the focus.
Yeah,
I mean I think that's down to me. I need to fly better.
Yeah,
and hopefully that will come with a bit more practice with him. But yeah, it is an interesting swap. So Tony's also brought Breach in the bomber with Proud Tradition, Elusive, Plasma, Electro Chaff, Skill Bombardier, and Munitions Failsafe. Blackout in the Silencer with Trick Shot, Prime Thrusters, Pattern Analyzer, Mag Pulse, and Sensitive Controls. And if anyone wonders whether it's worth giving Sensitive Controls a go over the Auto Thrusters ability, watch this game because they're MVP. And then Malorus with the classic marksmanship cluster missiles loadouts. Yep. So yeah, it's quite interesting because obviously you're all I5. I've got 2 I5s, so I've got opportunities to block, but you've got system phase repositions which will go after that. Well, not after the blocking, but after my system phase. First player makes a big difference because if I'm first player, my entire list moves. But if you're first player, your entire list moves before Kylo and Malorus.
Yes.
So yeah. Obstacles. We've basically got two large rocks, a gas cloud, and 3 of the debris from the Pride of Mandalore pack. And before we get into that, we'll do objectives. We're playing Salvage Mission, which I think for both our lists is probably the worst scenario.
Yeah, definitely agree.
We'll preface to anyone listening, there is an instant in this game where I cheat and system phase boost with a bomber that's holding a crate. I think I said to you in the game about a round or 2 later going, I think I may have cheated, and we'll look back. So yeah, there is that. I don't know if it's game changing. We'll have a look at that when we get to it. But I don't think many of the ships really want to hold a crate. Maybe the FOs, but that's about it.
I think with Crispy's list, if I was flying that in this mission, once the bombers have done their thing, like area denial and getting rid of the chaff missiles, them and probably Scorch or Malorus is also an ideal one to pick up a crate and start towing it round. So,
yeah. But then I think that's kind of offset as well by the fact that Salvage Mission is almost everyone's worst scenario.
Yes.
There are a couple of lists that excel at it. Anything with a TIE Swarm in is fine. The Reapers and stuff quite like it as well. Imperials. But yeah, everyone just accepts it's the one that's going to be a bit difficult because obviously not only is it denying the action by picking it up, it then limits all of the bits on top.
Yes.
But we've set up and basically we've ended up with the middle one, obviously, and as I'm looking at it, one right in the middle as close to my edge as possible. One to my right, about range 2.5 from the centre and slightly up, and then the same on your side above that. So you've got those 4 sort of skewed towards the right-hand side of the board.
Yeah.
And then the one that I placed in your side, which is basically as far left and back as it can go. And then the rocks, basically we've got almost a line across your player edge, just slightly curving to go in front of an obstacle on the right-hand side, consisting of 2 debris and the gas cloud. And then almost the same but opposite on my player edge, in not quite a line, almost a triangle, the middle rock's slightly above. But there's a lot of space in the middle to play with, a lot of space on both sides to play with. It's almost a 6 face on a die,
Yeah.
We've got almost identical ships that they're both very maneuverable. I don't think there's an advantage turn 0. obstacle wise for either of us here. I think we've both got options.
Yeah, definitely. And on this particular game, I liked having the general free space in the center of the board, because obviously with your 5 ships and then my 4 ships, it's going to be a very busy center board
Yeah,
when things start coming in. So it's having it slightly open um, allows maybe some more bolder maneuvers.
yeah.
Um, in hindsight, in games I've played after, I've from a different way of setting or trying to set the rocks up for various reasons. But I liked the way the rocks were set up for this one.
Yeah, because obviously I want a lot of space because, as you say, with the ships, it's going to get clustered. That's going to narrow down options for the system phase boost dropping with the
Yeah,
bombers. I don't want the obstacles to then get in the way of that as well and really hamstring me.
yeah, agree.
Um, so we go to setting up ships, and obviously you're first player. So I set up my lower initiatives, you set up your list, and I set up my 2 5s.
Yeah,
And I set up the 2 bombers on the right hand side. It's the side with the most objectives. If you want to commit straight away to that, fine, I'll joust you. This list jousts reasonably well, and then jumps behind and proxies you. And then I set up Scorch left of the bottom center objective. My plan being, I 1 hard turn 1, probably 2 straight turn 2, pick up that crate with Scorch, and then just start ticking up some points. Um, to just start building, because I know how quickly one ship carrying getting 1 point a turn will build up.
yeah. It's that consistent drip feeding of
Yeah,
points that eventually, before you know it, it's 5, 6 points you've got for nothing.
yeah, exactly. Then you set up your list.
Yeah. So looking where the bombers went, um, not unexpected. They were going to be in either on the flanks in the open space where they can use that boost, pursuit thrusters, like 4 forwards, and then look to maybe dump a chaff and things like that. What I was mindful of was happy to be in front of them if I can control the range, so I don't get snagged by one of the missiles, which is not a big deal. But the one thing I was mindful of was not allowing them to get in front of me or overtaking me in such a way they get the free damage with the prox mines. So blackout, yeah, in the corner. Um, it's got options. If it looks like you're going to turn into the center board, allows me to come down that flank there, or vice versa. Malaris, intention was just to have her slowly roll into the center of the boards, see where the engagement was going to be, and just try and get her optimized there. Breach, slow roll into the middle of the board and just look to see where Kylo and Scorch were going to play. With Breach, I'm not too fussed about your bombers. I think it's going to be a couple of turns before you're going to be like affecting them. And then Kylo, intention was to come down one flank and just try and push your Kylo and your Scorch into the center of the board, where a lot of my forces were then going to congregate around. That was the initial plan, and just sort of then read it from there.
Yeah. So
But
once
the one thing I was going to add was with this list and looking at your list at the same time, my priority was not to get crates
oh no
because
no
so I was looking at where can I take one flank or take one ship or take a flank and then slowly burn that down. So hence why I'm looking at Kylo. It's a lot of points if I can get those points in quickly, and then just try and not ignore but leave the bombers and your Malaris not hanging out to dry, but long enough away that I don't have to deal with them initially and sort of try and get ahead of the game.
yeah. um so I set up Malaris just to the left of the bombers and behind. I've set the bombers up as far forward as you can. I set Malaris up behind, as far back, just to the left, because obviously she can't go quite slow, so gives her a bit more distance to cover. And then Kylo, I set up to the left of Scorch, pointing at 45 degrees. And this basically gave him options. I can do a slowish straight, a 2 straight, turn 1, see where everyone goes. And then if I need to, I can turn to the right, go down my board edge, join up with the rest of my forces. Or I can continue straight into the middle, or turn left through a gap in the rocks if I think I can steal a flank on, say, your Kylo.
Yep.
So yeah, but that's set up. So we get into the game. Or we would if I run this a little bit further forward in. I'm sure we'll start the clock in a minute. Luckily, I can edit most of this out for the audio one. Right, so here we go. We roll off, and I am first player. So system phase, I boost Grudge, and then I 4 straight, I think, actually, with him, and take a focus. I 4 straight and focus Dread without the system phase boost, and then I 1 hard and focus with Scorch. And it's at this point. Oh, and then I 2 straight with Kylo and take a jam. And Malorus does a 3 straight, I think. Yeah, 3 straight, and
3 straight.
Takes a focus. Then we move over to your list.
Yep. So Kyle came right onto the flank. Happy to boost in. Just gives me options to come into the center of the board or push forward down to your flank as well. So breach after, straight into the middle again, trying to get that center position. Again, I'm still looking at maybe trying clip Kylo. And then I'm just going to bring who did I move next? I think it might have been
It's Blackout.
Turns Blackout in. Initially when I did the move and I saw, right, okay, not overly unexpected to be aggressive with your bombers, but what I was interested in is the step that you've got. So the one leading in, the one behind, and then Malorus, which made me think for the next turn, where you're going to continue to rush down and have one go into the middle. It presented me more food for thought than I initially anticipated.
So the reason I did that step is basically so that Grudge next turn can system phase boost again and throw out a chaff with the 5 straight. Yeah. But by keeping Dread and Malorus back, Malorus is going to catch up next turn anyway because she's faster. But Dread, it means that if Dread's not quite so far forward, it gives him more options for throwing out another chaff the next turn. And much as I'd like to catch all 4 of your ships in one turn, if I can, if you've not dialed in a blue this turn, land on, and I do catch you with, or the next turn, should I say, and I do catch you with the chaff, if I can keep Blackout stressed and jammed, and then get the 2 bombers and a nice Malorus shot on him, I will waste 2 chaffs to kill the silencer, because that is going to be the most difficult ship to take down.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree.
But then, by the other point, is if that doesn't play out, they've still got good turning in options. So it allows by having them stepped, it allows banks a bit easier. But it also allows different hard turns to put me in different places. So that was the thinking there. And then your Malorus does a hard turn in. And we've all basically shuffled up the board a bit. So it's interesting. So this turn, I will launch a chaff with Grudge, because I didn't think you'd rush towards me with Blackout. No. But I had you pegged for a 2 straight.
Why was that then?
So, because I thought you'd want to come towards me, because I think with a 2 straight, it gives you an opportunity to plink some range 3 damage into me, and also you're 3 reds versus if you go for a bomber, 2 greens, but would
Yeah.
still give you space the next turn to hard turn behind the gas cloud, and then disappear basically. Was my thinking, or depending on waiting and seeing what I've done, you can 5 straight past me, or 3 bank past me, or there are opportunities. I didn't think that the boost 5 straight chaff would land on you, and also I know you've got sensitive controls. But if I'm forcing you to go slightly further, to barrel roll, then you're doing your blue, you can't then barrel roll again. Just denying you actions, basically.
Yeah, no, I get that. So what my line of thinking on this one was that yes, you are going to come straight in, and you're at least going to try and get 1 chaff missile down. Ideally, I'd like to see you move both at this point without knowing what the move was. Ideally, have both your bombers come down into that bottom corner. I'm completely happy with that because the move that I'm going to do with Blackout is going to be quite useful without giving it away. And then Blackout will just move away. But it means I've dragged your bombers into my bottom left-hand corner. Whereas Blackout, silencer, is pretty maneuverable. I can then reposition like in 2 turns away, get him into the middle of the fight, where your bombers are stuck in a corner. Well, not stuck in a corner, but out of the fight, as far as I'm concerned at that point.
Yeah.
I did not, in any shape or form, wanted to try and risk going over the top of the bombers, because taking 2 proxy bombers, would have been pretty brutal.
But I felt like
the Malorus shot as well.
if I do force you into the barrel roll, then you go over Malorus rather than
yeah.
But
I
I do mistake here. What I should have done in hindsight is, because Scorch and Kaido have a reasonably easy line into the center of the board, and I miscall what Blackout's doing, but Malorus, Breach, and your Kylo are pretty much committed to either coming into the center of the board or flanking that direction with your Kylo. Yeah. I should have turned both bombers and Malorus into the center of the board, brought Kylo and Scorcher up, or gone slow this turn but turned in to give enough time for Kylo and Scorch to get in position, then jumped into the center of the board next turn. Because if Blackout had come forward like I thought he would, then I just dropped the prox mines.
Yeah.
Or the threat of those prox mines are there. Whether I do actually do them or not, you have to take into account. In hindsight, by doing it with Grudge and trying to get that prox mine, that chaff cloud straight away, I am dragging him away, as you'll see in a second. So we go into round 2 and roll off, and I'm first player again. So I do the system phase boost with Grudge, and I launch it with a 5 straight. I do the system phase boost with Dread, but don't launch. You system phase barrel roll to the right with Blackout, which I actually, knowing what you did and what you dialed in, was quite an interesting choice. I think if it so spoilers, if I'm right, Blackout's 2 harding to the right, yeah.
Yeah, to clear the stress that he's getting from doing the sensitive control.
I think if it was me, I might have considered, bearing in mind that chaff doesn't hit, and doesn't hit by quite a long distance.
Yep.
I think you can move behind that chaff without clipping it on a 2 hard. I would have considered actually staying where you are, and then doing the 2 hard, because it would leave obstructed shots. And if I'm only throwing 2 dice at you, you can then sit there obstructed with a focus. And depending on what I've done with my other ships, if I have turned Malorus in or whatever, you've got a chance to dive back down.
Yeah, but the way I was looking at that was, if I stay where I am and allow you to come to me and then fly over me, I'm getting prox mine. So the whole way I was looking at Blackett was, I'll allow you, I'll try and drag you in, but I will stay in front of you. So hence why, barrel roll to the right, then it's going to be the hard 2, then I'll just start moving out. Because I just don't want to give away that free damage, especially with the free reroll that Grudge will have it on things like that. Ideally, yeah, I'd like to get behind Bomber and then just shoot them, but not with prox mines. So, because actually I was more expecting you to slow roll like a 1 or a 2 bank, so you've still got your arc down into the bottom corner, but then the next turn it still give you the option to turn into the middle of the boards, or even come back up to the board with that system phase boost, and then maybe drop another chaff mine as well. I just thought it's slow roll to give yourself that one final turn of which way's the engagement, which way's Blackout going to go, who's coming into the middle of the board, and then give you that ideal information to either go up to the top or come into the middle.
And that's what I should have done.
Yeah, and that's what influenced me doing this hard to try and get as much distance away from the bombers coming in.
Interestingly, I've just realised that I've technically slightly cheated again. Although the only effect it causes is screwing me, so that chaff cloud's off the board edge.
Oh wow, so it is.
Which I don't think either of us clocked during the game.
No,
not by much, but so in theory that should have gone back and I regained the charge, which is ironic because there are a few times later on in the game that I was like, I really wish Grudge had his chaff cloud and I hadn't wasted it at the first turn. Yeah,
I'm glad you did.
No, yeah. Well, this is why we look at them. So you do the barrel roll, and then we kind of skip past Breach, despite the fact you wanted to do something with him. But we will go back. So I do a 4 straight because I was trying to jump up and get in close range, which lands me on the chaff. So I actually need to. Well, I know, don't do a 4 straight with a small basic will land you on the chaff. And I should have known that, and I know why it is, and I remember testing this with the Resistance Y-Wings. So because of the way the chaff is shaped, it curves back round the 5 straight template.
That's right, yeah.
And so that's what catches you out. And I should have remembered that. I'm pretty sure you can dial in any other maneuver, actually, and it's fine. A 3-bang, anything like that. It's good, but
just in particular with that one.
But hey, so I take the jam. I don't gain the stress. I think I 3 straight. Well, it might have been a 4. No, I think it's a 3 with
that's a 3.
Yeah,
3 straight
with Dread, because again, I thought you were coming down that way, so I wanted to end up behind. To basically get a shot into Blackout. And I barrel roll to the right, and I think I link it into a tar. Do I link? No, I don't link. Because I was hoping that if you'd gone faster than I thought, because obviously the Silencer has some pretty fast blues, then I'll get a bump. If not, then I'm likely to have a range 1 shot anyway.
Yes.
So Scorch goes next. So I didn't do a 2 straight like I was going to with the initial plan. I actually turned towards the centre of the board edge because I'm facing up between the middle of the 2 rocks, and I pick up the crate. Malorus jumps forward and takes a target lock onto your Malorus. And Kylo, I think I dialed in a 4 straight. I ummed and ahed on this one, whether I should have gone slower. I changed it a few times. I was just slightly concerned about getting caught in the flank by your Kylo. So I wanted to go fast enough to basically put the rock between us, so that if I did get caught, I'd still be getting that 3rd dice.
Yeah.
I take a focus. Then we go to you.
Yep. So, as I'd already planned, Malus was going to nicely slip between the gas cloud and the debris. Um, Again, just coming into the center of the board. I don't know what I did with that actually. Was that two?
Sorry, yeah, no,
Three?
I paused. So it was
That's right.
it was at this point I went, oh god, I'm screwed because I didn't think Malorus would do that. Because of what I thought Blackout was doing, I thought Malorus was going to turn in behind, like do a one hard, try and pick up a lock on one of the bombers and start cluster missiling them. Um, Hence why I took the lock with Malorus, thinking, oh, I can get my own cluster missiles off here.
Yep. Yep.
The moment you turned her in that way, I'm like, well, I've got 3/5 of my list that probably isn't shooting this round and is well out of position.
Yep. Which sort of went back to my original plan of um, trying to draw the bombers down so I can then
Yeah,
single out
and it's worked
one
perfectly,
particular side. Yeah.
absolutely perfectly. Um, so your manager has picked up a crate as well.
That was it.
So
Yep.
let's start ticking up. And here comes Kylo.
Yep. 3 bank in. Just to focus. That was it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then R2 from Blackout clears the stress. And then just took a focus for defense. Yep. And then breach all coming into the center of the board to try and generate that kill box.
Yeah. Takes a lock on my Kylo.
Yep.
S-
Could I just go into why the particular
Yeah.
breach build that I have?
Yeah, of course.
Most people just because it's a bit different. So my crazy theory, being a sort of newbie back into the game, is that yes, you can load breach out with protorps, and well, you got 2 points left over for a skill, so like elusive. Yep, it's got a nice ability. If you fly through him, you get a free target lock. You know, whenever that happens. But thinking back to when I've played before, generally protorps or big munition sort of ships tends to happen in the early stages of a game. You know, when you're engineering that first engagement, think of people like Luke and Wedge want to get that initial shot out. Because I've only got 4 ships, I need to be. My mindset is I want to be quite protective of them. They need to last the game. So I want to have the ability to elusive, so they can get another reroll. Proud tradition, you know, if they're stressed, they can still get a focus, but still have some sort of threat. So I looked at plasma torps. You know, an initial engagement. It's like if I'm shooting against something, obviously with a shield, and I'll get 3 hits and they blank out, and get 4 hits really, because of the plasma torp ability. And to me, that kind of it's not quite as good as a pro torp, but it's up there, allowing me to have the extra talent slots.
Yeah, no, it's
And I played a game in the Sith League on Monday night against a Decimator, and that's exactly what happened. You know, I got 3 hits, then it was turned into 4, stripped all the shields off, and then
nice.
ended up killing it in 1 turn, which was pretty brutal. But yeah, sorry
No.
that's why I
It's
explained
an
that build.
interesting look.
Yeah.
It did tickle me when you said that I've only got 4 ships and I want to make sure that they stay safe. Obviously, you haven't played for 18 months, so you may have missed Rebel Alpha Strike.
I have seen it on GSP and stuff like that.
I
Yeah,
mean, I mean, I flew it. That
last
literally consists of Luke, Wedge. The version I flew was Luke, Wedge, Dutch, and Fen Rao and the Sheath Beam, and that is literally. I'm going to ignore the scenarios. I'm going to rock up. I'm going to throw a modded plasma at you from Dutch at I6 with swarm tactics. Then I'm going to throw Wedge's Protorp. Then I'm going to throw Luke's Protorp, and
it's just
it deletes a lot of stuff. Crispy's list is one of the best counters to it. Chaff in general is a great counter to it because you're jamming, you're stressing,
and that's why I was thinking, do I really need to chaff myself? Should I really be taking a bomb? But that's why that's in the list. If I come across a list that has something nasty, like an Alpha, Protorps Luke or something like that, then that's why that's in the list to protect or deal with that particular element of a list.
Yeah. I like one of my golden rules now is almost if I take a list with a ship that can take chaff clouds, it probably takes chaff clouds.
Staple to it. Yeah.
But yeah, so we go into the engagement. Neither of us decide to Malorus this turn because there's no point. There's no good chips. So I start with my Malorus, who goes into Blackout. Rolls 2 crits out of hand. It's range 3, so you got 4 dice and a focus. Pretty sure it's going to do nothing. But I'm wrong. Dice.
Yeah. Dice will be dice.
Dice will be dice. 3 blanks and an evade, so I plink a shield off. Then I look at my Kylo. No bullseye shot, so just a range 3 turret into your Malorus. I spend a force to instinctive aim and lob a concussion at you, just because it's 3 dice. I roll 3 hits out of hand. I leave it at that. And you roll 2 blanks and a focus. And all right, it's going to be one of those games. So that's Malorus down to 1 already.
Not the best of starts.
Not the best starts. But then we go over to your list.
Yep.
And this is Grudge going into Kylo with the plasma.
Oh yeah, breach.
Sorry, breach. Right, there's Minty's. No, it's fine. I always have to get at least one pilot wrong so that Minty's got a card to make it. It's fine. Yeah, breach goes into my Kylo with its plasma. Rolls 2 hits and a focus. And I think you leave it. I roll 2 focuses and an evade, so I spend a force because I don't want Kylo losing no shields. Your Malorus goes into Kylo. It's range 3, and I've got the extra dice because there's no green token, and nothing's happening there. And then your Kylo, I think, goes into my Kylo with the missile.
Yep.
And I'm just on 3 because it's obstructed. 2 crits out of hand for you. And then you optics into a hit. I roll 2 blanks and a focus, spend my focus. So that is the 2 shields down on my Kylo. It's like, ouch, that's not a great start. Scorch no shot. Grudge has a range 2 shot into Blackout. Rolls 1 hit. You spend the focus, and that's it.
Yeah, I was reasonably obviously Malorus was a bit of a that happens, but I was quite happy to slowly start wearing down Kylo, making you spend force.
The fact that you've managed, the fact you managed to get his shields off. I'm now on 3 health, and as regular listeners know, I've flown a lot of Jedi. I know how quickly something with force and 3 health just disappears. And yeah, you've got a nice setup where you can pretty much get everyone onto Kylo if you want.
Yes.
Whereas I realistically can maybe get Kylo, Scorch, and Malorus back, but the bombers are just out of it this turn.
Yeah. I didn't really have to worry about them because then Blackout could just move away at silence's speed.
So we go into round 3. Or at least we will do in a second.
It's probably me holding it up because I'm a bit of a slow thinker.
Oh, don't worry. We were very much going through things and talking about stuff as we were doing it anyway, so. Just me, because I've slowed it down to ×4, because every time I put it on ×8, I skip past stuff in the actual movement and miss it.
So what are you thinking at this point here then, Sean?
So, I need to get the bombers back in. So basically the hard turn, I actually am an and I think I should have done it. What I should have done, obviously I can't boost with Grudge because he's on the chaff cloud. Yeah. But because I'm on that chaff cloud, I ignore it coming off. So he's just going to hard turn in behind Blackout, and then that pretty much means he's likely to have a shot on Blackout. Might not be a great shot, but what I should have done with Grudge, with Dread, is one bank to the left boost and then one harded in behind where Malorus is.
Yep.
Because I've got plenty of space to do a straight maneuver the next turn. I would have likely had opportune targets to lob a chaff out.
Yes.
And I could have got back into the fight. I think I just play it safe by doing a hard 2 anyway, so but that's on me.
Yeah, I think with Dread, it was the best opportunity to get him back into the fight.
Yeah.
Just tailing him behind Malorus, yeah.
I also do wonder whether I should have launched the chaff here, because the 3 bank would land onto Blackout. But I had a feeling that I might land on it as well, and then I really am scuppered, so... but we roll off, and you're first player.
Yes.
So we go to the system phase, and I do nothing, and I'm really sad, because you barrel roll Blackout to the left, which I'm pretty sure blocks the 2 hard I'm going to do. And ironically, I think if I had boosted to the left, that would have blocked you.
Yes, it would have.
And,
I think it probably would have.
And if you tried it, you would have got the stress and stayed where you are, or you just don't, and then you carry on with what you're doing, but it's denied you, I suppose, the option of what you wanted to do.
Yeah, better positioning.
Yeah. And then a system phase boost from Breach.
Yep. Even though I've got those 3 ships into the center of the board, and they are reasonably maneuverable, I was starting to think it's going to get a bit cluttered. Like I said at the very beginning of the game. So moving, Breach has done his job. He's got a plasma torp off. He's unlikely to get another one off on Kylo. So take him out of the action a little bit, bring him back into the fight where he can come out, take a lock, and then next turn move. Then he's got take a focus, and then he's got like a double modded shot on something again after that. Otherwise, it's just going to be a 2 dice shot into possible. Well, the majority of ships are going to be 3 dice. So I'd rather have that double modded 3 dice attack.
So we go to I2, and I do the 2 hard off the chaff with Grudge. I know I'm not getting shot, so I take a lock onto Blackout. I do get the bump on the back of Blackout with Dread, which is bad because it's keeping me out of the fight. But actually, it's bumped in a position that the 2 hard the next turn will put me into the gap I wanted to be in.
Yeah.
But it's still a turn that I'm out and not shooting. I do a 5 straight with Scorch because I wasn't expecting Grudge. I'm doing it again. I wasn't expecting Dread, not Dread. That's my one. I'll get it right 3rd time. I wasn't expecting Breach to do the system phase boost where he was.
Right.
So I was expecting him to come in, Malorus to come in, and Kylo to do something like a 1 hard to the left, stay kind of back, but be facing towards the middle. So I've 1 harded my Kylo to the left because I thought a 5 straight would give me enough clearance to sneak in behind that. And basically, I thought there's a good chance that my Kylo probably dies this turn, but if I can get a nice range 1 bullseye shot off someone, at least I can do some damage on the way out. But Scorch does his 5 straight, and the moment he does his 5 straight, I realise that I'm not going to fit any manoeuvre in behind that. And he's carrying a crate, so I can't barrel roll out the way.
Yep.
Alright, fine. So he takes an evade. Scorch takes an evade because I know I'm likely going to get shot. But I do get a bump on your Malorus, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I wasn't actually that fussed about the bump because I was going to Malorus anyway, and I wanted Kylo. I kind of expected Scorch to be a pain and either block me or basically block me, but it still means I'm going to get a modded range 1 shot, hopefully, into Kylo. If that was any other TIE fighter, they didn't have Malorus' ability. Obviously, it'd be a bit sad. But I was quite happy with that. Content, shall I say?
Yeah. And you don't take the red focus on Malorus.
No, because I was going to Malorus myself
Yeah,
anyway. So.
exactly. There's no point being double stressed.
No, no.
I think a hard 2 from Blackout.
Yep,
Ditch
back
the
in through the
stress.
gap. Yep. I did consider just basically 5 straight along my board edge, but then that means Blackout's not in the fight. Happy for him then to just hard turn in between the rocks and then start contributing into this the kill box in the center. Yes, I was going to get shot possibly by 1 or 2 of the bombers, but obviously trusting green dice. Yeah, 2 versus 3. I've got a focus token, so
Yeah.
No,
it makes perfect sense. And then Kylo, 3 bank, 2 bank.
Yeah, it was a bit closer to the rock than I thought, but then as you can see, what I do there, I just happily barrel roll over.
And link it to a rotate because it's Kylo. We'll shoot out the back.
Why not?
And at this point, I'm like, I've been a complete and utter idiot. I'm getting a range 1 from Malorus, a range 1 from Kylo. What I should have done, there's an obvious maneuver here. I should have just 5 straighted with Kylo.
Yep.
And
just get out of dodge.
5 straight, focus rotate.
Yeah.
Then I'm still shooting, and maybe I'm in the silencer, but I'm not range 1 of 2 ships.
Yeah.
1 with force and 1 with I'm going to turn every paint to a result. So, yeah, I'm as you know from playing me, I'm quite an aggressive player.
Oh yeah, I noticed, Sean.
I need
never noticed.
I need to get better at disengaging. But hey, so I won hard my Malorus in, which I'm quite happy at. She's not getting shot. And I think I make a mistake here because I don't do an action with her. Why have I not done an action with
her? They're red. Hard ones are red.
Oh, are they? I haven't given myself a stress to. What, on the TIE Fighter? They're not red on the TIE Fighter, are they?
Are they red? Hold on. I'm thinking of the bombers.
I know they are on the bombers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was
yeah, no, they're white. They're white on the.
Well, they are white, so I was thinking of the bombers.
Oh,
I was thinking of TIE SFs.
Yeah,
that was it.
I know why I didn't take an action because I've already got the lock that I want for the cluster missiles, and I know that I'm gonna Malorus this turn. Yeah. I don't think I'm getting shot, so there was no point taking an evade. I didn't want to barrel roll, so didn't take an action. Probably should have just taken the evade just in case. Just in case. But hey. Then we go.
So then my breach did a 3 slip.
Yeah, because I think we may have missed him because I think both of us thought the system phase. We looked at the system, the boost afterwards, and gone, "Oh, he's moved," and kind of skipped past him. Yeah, it does a sleep.
Yep.
And proud traditions are focus. Nice. Oh, I do take an evade. There we go. There's the evade. And then I do bump with Kylo. And I'm like, okay, I've got a range 1 shot maybe into Malorus, but that's it. Nope.
And I don't mind trading up.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. And I take a damage because it's a friendly bump.
Yes.
So Kylo down to 2. And yeah, it's ouch time as well because your entire list is going to shoot before my Kylo gets a chance. So if you start putting weapons failures and blinded pilots and things like that through, it's going to be real awkward. But hey ho. So it looks like Blackout goes into him first.
Yep, range 2.
3 hits out of hand. I roll evade focus, spend a force to live on 1. And I do actually wonder at this point, with all the shots coming in, whether I should have spent that force to live, or do I just accept that I die and have more force for the attack?
Yeah, that's a very good question, isn't it?
But I suppose what it has done is it's forced your Kylo to shoot into my Kylo. And actually, I think this is a mistake on your part. I think what you should have done here was shot your Malorus first.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now.
Because if you kill my Kylo, which let's be fair, range 1 and I've got 1 health left, is pretty reasonable. that then frees up your Kylo to shoot into Scorch.
Of course, yeah.
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 Whereas, all right, your Malus can still shoot into Scorch, but that's a range 0 shot.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's, yeah, better target selection.
And
then that also, yeah, I'd agree.
So, yeah. But you do go into Kylo, and it looks like you roll 2 hits, Malice 1 to a crit.
Yep.
I roll 1 evade, 2 eyeballs, and I spend my other focus, other force, sorry, for 2 evades to dodge it. So somehow I've tanked the 2 shots on my 2 health Kylo. So you do have to use your Malorus.
Yep.
Range 1, she gets 3 results. I don't. So that is my Kylo dead. But I've caused you to use probably your 3 good shots on him, so it's kind of a small consolation prize. And then Breach, I think, just goes into Scorch at range 3 obstructed, 1 hit, 2 evades. So,
and to be perfectly honest, maybe I should have used Breach first, because it's, it's not a quality shot. Try and get Kylo to spend a force early.
Yeah. Because you've got, I'm pretty sure you've still got a lock on him, because you didn't spend it last turn, so you could have fired that other plasma at him. Yeah, you're not knocking off the shield, but it's 3 dice then.
I think I spent the lock to re-roll them.
I didn't think you.
Engagement, I think.
No, I thought you threw him out of hand. I'm pretty sure I can see a lock in between the Whisper there, but I mean, to be fair, it means you've got a plasma to throw into another ship, so it's not it's not necessarily a bad thing.
That's true.
So Kylo does have a range 1 shot into your Malorus.
Yep.
I roll hit crit out of hand, so I'm looking for a blank, and there's 1 in there, and that's her gone. So you drop your crate. Which, okay, great, I've killed a quarter of your list, but you've taken out my endgame piece in turn 3.
Yes.
So, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I'm badly up against it. I dropped the crate.
I thought I was in more of a worst case because I'd lost a ship, but yeah, it's for Kylo, so the points obviously work out a bit better. But
I just think that yes, you've lost a ship, but it's your 3-point TIE fighter. It's the least valuable ship, I think, in
there. Your 5-point ace, yeah.
But we continue with the shooting, and we go to my Malorus. And what I should have done when I was like, going, I don't need to take an action, it's fine, because I already have a target lock on your Malorus. And I was like, where the ships were, I was like, great, I can shoot your Malorus, and I can cluster into Blackout. But because Kylo only had a shot into Malorus, I might as well take that one first. What I should have done is I should have moved the lock from Malorus to Blackout, because if I end up shooting her first, I can do the same thing just in reverse order.
Yes.
And now what's happened is I've got a useless lock on a dead ship. So
yeah, because you would have had the target lock reroll on Blackout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just do the range 1 obstructed into Blackout. Luckily, I roll 3 paints to get 3 hits. And you roll 3 paints. And with your focus, get 3 evades. And that's it for the 5s, I believe.
Yes, it would have been,
So get rid of it. So we go to Scorch, who takes the stress to roll 3 dice into Blackout. Gets 1 hit. You get 3 evades. And then it's just a grudge shot, range 2. Spends the lock he picked up earlier for hit crit, and you dodge that. And then I score a single point for Scorch's box. Yes. So at the end of that round, it's 5-7 to you. I've lost Kylo, you've lost Malorus, and I've plinked both shields off Blackout. But we all know how tricky silencers are to kill, so
What
that's
was your what was your thoughts then on the board state about where you were at positionally?
so I basically I've got to get back into it quickly. But I think where I am, I have the opportunity to do that in the sense that Grudge can boost and then do a 4 straight. It's going to get him right into the centre, and I can hard turn in behind. And then I just need to try and catch something, and where it is, I think it's trying, much as they're hard to kill, try and catch the silencer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan. But you know, your Kylo is in a place where I can't get to him, and he can get out of anything I can throw. And your bomber's just a bit too far back for me to get close enough to, I suppose, put coordinated fire into him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe you're in a better position than I am because you've got your bombers and Malaris can basically come together and come back into the middle of the board, and you can probably just take Scorcher and maybe sloop them so they're all back in. I've now got to reposition the bomber with stress, which isn't great because they're only blue maneuvers or forward straight maneuvers. And then yes, I can bring Kylo in because he's quite squirrely, but I'm mindful of bringing Kylo in too quickly without the support of Blackout because Blackout's got to. It's like Blackout's 2 turns to come back into the fight. By the time I come out, maybe do a Talon roll, then by that point you should be back into the middle. So I'm now mindful of how I time Kylo coming back in along with the bomber.
Yeah.
But while I'm doing that, you're scoring points from the crate and you're getting into better because you've got the 2 crates over on my side now that your bombers, if you wanted to, you could pick up and start scoring. But
yeah,
that was my thoughts at that point there.
and maybe, to be fair, maybe that's what I should have done. Like, maybe I just send Grudge off to pick up a crate and willy-nilly away and think, hey, if you're going to come and chase after me, fine, I'll drop a prox mine on you.
And all the time you're just ticking over that point.
But my worry was if you kill the 2 TIE fighters, and we all know they can pop.
Yeah.
You know, even if, say, I take out Breach in return for that, Kylo and Blackout eat 2 bombers.
Breakfast.
So, you know, that was my big worry. I had to try and keep all my ships together so that if you're coming after one, you're coming after them all. But I also had to try and get shots on you, or felt like I had to try and get shots on you.
See, that's the interesting thing with scenarios now. I think it adds a lot more to the mix. There's a lot more tactical thinking about how you're going to play the game out rather than just, well, I'm just going to kill that ship.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm just going to then dance around, you know. There's other avenues to explore.
So we go into turn 4. I think.
Yeah.
As soon as we roll. I thought we were about to roll there. I might actually just speed this up a little bit. So we go times 8. There we go. There we go. So we roll, and it's back to me as first player. It's only my Malaris now where we overlap. So I do a system phase boost to the right with Dread, and I'll have to remember. I'm pretty sure it's because I've 3 banked Grudge, and I needed to jump over, and then I think I've hard turned because the idea of doing the system phase boost with Grudge and then 4 straighting didn't even occur to me, and it's only in hindsight they go, yeah, this is what I should have done. Like, I didn't see that at the time. No, that's why, because what I've done is I've hard 2'd Grudge.
Okay, so you're coming through that gap a different way.
Yeah.
So instead of Right.
the reason I've done it, and I'm not sure this is the better way of doing it, but the reason I've done it is because I can then barrel roll in behind, link to a target lock on Blackout, and I've got plenty of space to do a straight maneuver the next turn to ditch the
Yeah.
stress. Yeah, I don't know if it's better.
I'm trying to remember what you did with Dread.
Well, this is it. It gets me the same sort of, almost the same placement for Grudge, but it feels like I'm compromising myself on Dread. So, yeah, because Dread does too hard and takes a lock onto.
Yeah.
So he's out for another turn.
Which I think is inevitable anyway.
Well, see, I'm not sure it is. If I'd done that boost with Grudge and fall straight in front of Blackout, then I've got space to turn in behind with Grudge, with Dread. So
yeah.
But what I have done is I've set up to basically do a boost fast straight maneuver next turn with Dread.
Down
through
the debris close.
Yeah, and I'm picking up 3 locks when I'm not likely to get shot. So small consolation prize. A too hard to the left with Scorch, ditch the stress. And I think he takes a focus. But this is where we skipped over the system phase with Blackout. So you just do a quick boost. We just recheck range 3 for Dread because he wouldn't have been able to take the lock if you if you're there. I take the evade with Scorch. And my Maris 1 hard because I kind of thought you were heading down that way somewhere. So I knew that you couldn't do a 1 straight, so I didn't know that. I knew there wasn't a risk of you bumping into the back of me. I knew you'd have to jump over. It's just a case of where. And she has taken a lock onto Blackout as well. So Blackout's got all the locks.
He's a popular guy.
Looks like your Kylo's turning in.
Yep.
A boost into a rotate. And then Blackout jumps in front and barrel rolls out of arc. Now this is interesting. The 1 straight with Breach.
Yes.
I get obviously the stress removal, but it's put you quite badly in front of a rock. You can get out of it next turn, but I think probably by only doing a 1 hard, which is obviously red.
Yep. But then I have Proud Tradition.
Which is true. If it was me, and I just wonder if this has occurred to you, whether I think I would have done a white bank down, basically following Kylo in between the debris and the rock. Yes, you'll stay stressed, but you've got Proud Tradition. And then it gives you much more space to do a faster blue if you want. You can, if I'm coming after you, you can drop a prox mine. Oh no, hang on, you don't have prox mines on that one. But it gives you that option to do like a 3 straight next turn.
Yeah, I mean the idea was to just get rid of the stress, and then I can sit there next turn. I can either turn left, hard turn left, or hard turn right with the focus. But in hindsight, I would have had more options, like you say there, because with the white maneuver, because I still take a focus because of Proud Tradition. So I've limited my options, so to speak, in that way. So no, I take that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Only because of what I do next turn, and I can only do what I do next turn. Hint: I block him because I know you've limited where you are. So whereas being that I suppose 2 ship lengths back because you're the template and yourself, you could have done almost any white maneuver. I actually think a 3 bank to the left would have been quite spicy. Get your focus anyway. You're full health, so you can take a hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we jump into the engagement phase. And it's my Malorus into your Kylo. At range 3, obstructed with No token. I think you should have had an extra dice there. I roll 1 hit. You spend a force for an evade. This looks like Breach going into Scorch with the plasma.
Yep.
Gets hit crit. Re-rolls into a hit. I spend my evade for 2 evades. So I lose the shield and take. Why have I taken 2 damage there? Oh no, shield goes because of the plasma. And it's 1 evade, not 2. I don't know. I must have knocked the dice. Yeah, so 1 evade. Luckily, I've cancelled the crit, so I don't have to worry about a direct. But and don't drop the crate because I've cancelled the crit.
Yes,
which is an interesting thing about plasmas, actually. That again, it doesn't help this scenario.
no.
And then the rest of your 5s don't have a shot. So we go to Scorch, who again takes the stress for 3 dice into Breach. Rolls 2 hits. Why am I modding? Oh, unless this isn't Scorch. No, this must be Scorch. Oh, I know why I'm modding. Fanatical.
Of course, yeah, because I've just taken the shield off.
Yeah, it's just taking the shield off. So Fanatical for 3 hits, which all go through. And then it's just down to Grudge, who has a range 3 shot, obstructed into the silencer. Rolls 1 hit after spending the target lock, which is dodged. Then I nab a point, and it's 6-7.
Yes.
But Scorch is on 1 health, and that'll be another 3 points. And
the bombers are slowly getting back in.
The bombers are slowly getting back in, but the one that's getting back in quickest is Grudge, who doesn't have his chaff cloud anymore. So there's no chucking that out to try and make things harder. I still think I'm down at this point, because I think once you nuke Scorch, which I think you like, I play for the block, but if that misfires, then I think you kill him. And I kind of Malorus is almost soloing Blackout and Kylo here, so it's like, that's not great.
I think at this point here, my only concern was, do you take Malorus back into the center of the board, which means possibly I don't get a shot with Blackout or quite a good shot with Blackout or Kylo, and in hindsight, that 1 forward that I did is actually, it's got big repercussions because it's now the way the board state is now. It's really limiting what I want to do. So
see, the problem is I don't think I can deny a shot brilliantly to Kylo, because Kylo just goes where he wants, repositions as he needs to, rotates and fires a missile out the back. So but we roll off, and your first player, which is kind of critical in that Kylo Blackout Malorus tangle we've got going on. But we go to the system phase, and I don't do Dread, which is quite interesting. I'm guessing I dialed in a 3 bank then. I still think the boost 4 straight would have been a better call. Hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? But you system phase barrel roll Blackout, which makes me think, because he's pointing 45 degrees towards the board edge and reasonably close, too hard in.
So I want to clear the stress.
So we jump to I2. I do a 2 straight with Grudge, clear the stress, and pick up a crate. Oh no, I just do a 1 bank with Dread. I think that's because I was considering the possibility that you'd do something like a 2 hard or something faster, or even yeet over the rock to just try and get past it with Breach. So I wanted to have a slightly wider arc at the back.
That's an option I would never have considered, going over the rock. And the thing is, I've got six, 2 shields and 4 hull. I could easily,
yeah, you could
I could
lose
quite
2 of them.
happily tank 2.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
if it stops me getting killed by Scorch, then
Yeah, what you've got to
yeah,
remember is half points is not a thing except for one
exactly,
scenario. So it's
exactly, yeah, exactly.
but Scorch does do a 2 bank, and then decides to go for the barrel roll to basically try and get the block on the bomber, which it does.
Yep.
Um,
Then we had this discussion about proud tradition, didn't we?
oh right, yeah. So obviously, Proud Tradition will let you focus while stressed. It's because you've done a 1 hard, wasn't it? That's why.
Yep.
So we were talking about whether you can still Proud Tradition, but although it allows you to perform a focus action while stressed, it's still performing within your perform action step. And obviously, the bumping into the enemy rules are: if you bump, you skip your perform action step, and then if you are not stressed, you may immediately perform a red focus or calculate action. So, unfortunately, the timing for that is you take the stress from the 1 hard, skip your perform action when you could Proud Tradition, and then are stressed, so can't perform the red focus.
Red focus. Yep.
So it is the 2 hard from Blackout and a focus, and a sloop from Kylo. Which went the moment you did it, I was like, okay, I'm quite happy with that. And then you started talking about pattern analyzer. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. And what I was looking for here was, if you were going to turn in, I was going to generate a kill box. But if I was just to come round as normal, the chances are you might be able to bump me or something like that. So I thought,
Yeah.
well, looking at the position, you're probably not going to do anything like a 3 hard or three bank. So I'll come out first, then patternise and then boost back in. Then it also opens out my bullseye, and then range 1,
Yeah.
and just a better position, coupled up with getting the arc from Blackout on the other side.
Oh no,
Um,
definitely. I
yeah,
didn't see it coming. It was a great play.
and then if you do decide to turn into the middle of the board, okay, so you're going to do something like a hard 2, which is only really going to put you just the other side near the rock. That's still going to be decent shot, range 2, possibly range 3
Yeah.
from Blackout, and then obviously either range 1 if it's or a range 2 concussion missile from Kylo. So I was still able to get some shots out, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was quite happy with that.
So I had dialed in a 2 bank to the left. And you link it to a jam and jam yourself.
Yep.
I had 2 hard to the left, which takes me further than I thought, which is a little annoying because I didn't expect Kylo to do what he was going to do, but I expected them to be roughly in the vicinity. I was hoping to be a fraction further back to be able to get them both an arc and cluster missile. But I don't have that opportunity. So at the moment, I've got a range 1 shot into Kylo, who's got a range 1 bullseye shot back at me, but no shot into Blackout, who probably has a range 1 shot into me. So I barrel roll to the left because I've got the lock on Blackout. We'll trade range 1 shots. I've still got a Malorous charge left, I think. But I've got out of Kylo's bullseye at least. So
Yes.
and then we go to the dice. And also your first player. So this looks like it is Blackout into
Yep.
Malorous. 4 on 3. You spend your focus for 3 hits and a crit. Nice. I roll 2 of 8. So take a shield and a crit, and the crit is a fuel leak. And then Kylo gets his shot. It is range 2. Rolls hit, crit out of hand. Spends a force to make it 2 crits. I roll 1 of 8. The crit obviously kills me because of fuel leak. Both of them are pilot crits, so Kylo's back at full force. Malorous is dead. Alright. But she does get to shoot first. But before that, Breach does get his range. I think you opt the range 3 into Grudge.
Yeah.
and roll 1 crit, which I evade.
Yep.
And then Malaris does her zombie shot into Blackout. I roll 1 hit and 2 eyes. Malaris for 3, and you take 2. Scorch goes into Breach and puts 2 damage through. So Breach is down to 2. And then we just have Grudge going into Kylo at range 3, at which you dodge. And then we realise we've missed Dread because we didn't think he was in range. But turns out he did have a range 3 shot into your bomber. Gets 1 hit, which is dodged. So end of that turn, I nab 2 points for the crates, but I'm still 8-10 behind. And we've got like 20 minutes left on the clock. And Scorch is on 1. And I don't think I have this. Kylo's in a position to come in. Or to be fair, quite frankly, what I think Kylo does is disappear off to the right and just shoots out the back. So what I have to do now is try and keep my ships alive and dissuade you from chasing after me. So I've picked up 2 crates. I'm going to run away.
And it's exactly what I thought. I didn't actually think about disengaging because disengaging doesn't get me anything because I haven't got crates. That's it's the shortfall of this list. So I need to get kills, which means I have to push it back into the center. The more and more I look at this, that misplay on my Breach is having ramifications now because that's 2 turns he's been stuck there doing nothing really, not supporting or chipping off damage.
And he can't go straight this turn to ditch the stress.
No.
So the most he's going to have is a focus.
Yep, exactly.
So, but we roll off, and I'm first player this turn, and we get to the cheating as I system phase boost with Grudge. I don't think it actually makes a lot of difference in the end. And actually, I argue that I probably shouldn't have done it anyway, as you'll see. But must remember that their boost is an action, and I cannot do it while I have a crate. And
I'm honest, Sean. I don't think it actually made
no.
that difference.
We'll talk about it the next turn because what I do with it, you basically dodge with your reposition, so it's fine. Dread boost as well because he needs to get in there, and you do a barrel roll because you like doing system phase barrel rolls.
I do know, I really do.
So I 2 hard away because and stick myself in front of a rock, but not right in front of the rock. I think a 2 hard gets past that next turn. But basically, I'm like, okay, I might get shot this turn, but I've got 6 health. Where they are, Kylo can probably come in and black me, but I don't think Blackout can get like range 1 or I don't think both of them can get range 1. I think you'd end up blocking one with the other. So I'm kind of like, if he comes in after me, if I can survive this 1 turn, the likelihood is I can drop a prox mine on someone, or I'm not getting those really horrible range 1 shots if you go somewhere where I can't. What was my thinking basically? Only takes focus. A 4 straight from Dread because I want to come in straight. I know that you're likely turning up with Breach, who's got 2 health. Basically, I want to be in a position to boost drop a prox mine on your next turn.
Yeah.
Just finish him off that way. And I do a 4K, 3K, 4K on the FOs, and a 4K with Scorch. All right, I'm not getting me extra dice this turn, but I'm also not getting shot, so that's mighty important on my my 1 health ship.
And it puts you in a better position as well because my Breach is obviously probably going to turn up.
Yeah, exactly.
As we're looking at it, so you're going to clear it anyway. 3 straight.
Well, that's what I mean. You have to turn up because any turn to the right goes over that rock. And okay, it's one thing to yeet it over when you've got 4 health left to get in a better position, but when you got 2, that's a brave call.
That's a dangerous game, that.
So Kylo does go right. It looks like a 3-bank. And I think, if I remember rightly, you're going to barrel roll into a rotate. And Blackout comes in. I was praying you'd boost in here for the juicy range one shot. It's like, come on, boost, Tony, boost. Focus into a boost, do it. But no. Too savvy for that.
Yeah, well, I kind of, I wouldn't say expected, which one? Sorry, Grudge to come in that way, but that's exactly where I don't want to be. Like I sort of said at the beginning of the game, is behind the bombers.
Yeah.
So I know about 5 minutes ago I said, I need to get ships into the middle of the board to start getting these points. But if your bomber's coming in, that means I'm going to be behind them.
Well,
Which means you're getting free damage. So
I say, especially as you're down to 2 health now, if Grudge gets a prox mine on you, then the odds are you take at least 2 damage. Those 2 dice with 1 reroll make it statistically likely.
I've seen more with talking more about Kylo. So I could have came round the rock to pressurize the middle of the board, but I kind of I didn't expect Grudge to come in quite like that. But I knew he was going to be in the middle of the board, so I didn't want to be behind him. So hence why I've turned out to get shots at where I'm not getting sort of creamed back at by prox mines, because I need the ships to be alive. There's no point in me just headstrong charging into the middle of the board and just getting prox mined to death.
Interestingly, if I hadn't have done the illegal system phase boost that turn, I'd be a ship and a bit up. I could have prox mined Kylo the next turn. 2 straight wouldn't happen. But hey, that's self-punishment.
Cheats don't prosper.
So we get into the shooting. But before we do, Blackout takes a nifty lock. And you do, I think that's a 2 hard with Breach.
Yeah, because I was going to keep the stress.
Yeah. And take a focus.
Yep.
So we go Blackout into the Grudge at range 3. Range 3. You reroll for 2 hits. I get 2 evades. Kylo launches a missile out the back. Hit crit. I roll 1 evade, so that is a shield. But I do drop the crate because it's a crit.
Yep. Which is what was more. That was my. What's the word I'm looking for? Worst case.
Yeah.
Worst case, best thing is to at least get the crate off. So
exactly. You're denying me that point.
Yeah.
So Scorch goes range 3 into Breach. Rolls hit crit out of hand. You roll 1 evade, and is on 1.
Yep.
And then no shot from Dread. So just I think it's a range 2 shot from Grudge, who rolls 2 hits out of hand. That's enough to kill Breach, regardless of what you roll. And that's Breach done. And it's swung. It's now 14-10 in my favour.
Yep.
Which is quite a big swing in a turn, especially as Kylo's facing away from me, and Blackout's gonna have to be wary of a prox mine.
Yes.
Which I'm going to drop all day long. I've got 2 left, and this game isn't likely to go more than 2 rounds. So I'll drop it. And okay, it probably doesn't hit anybody. But if it forces you to do a system phase reposition, it might be where you want to go anyway, but it might not. It might be a worse situation.
It also, even though I'm not likely to do it, but it makes it more difficult for me to collect those crates.
Yeah.
As well. Even though I'm not likely to do it in a silencer, but at this stage here where I need to get points, it's just not a denial.
So I do launch the procs out turn 7, which I'm first player again. It's nowhere near anyone, but that's fine. It's still quite a big area behind me that you can't fly over anymore.
Yes.
And I boost with Dread to the left because I'm going to come in through that gap. And then you do something I know. That's why, because you go the wrong way. Because I was expecting you to barrel roll to the right, and then you clicked to the left, and I was like, oh god, what's he done? Is he like one harding to the... but no, to the right. Because I thought something like a 2-bank dialed in here. I wasn't sure you wanted the hard manoeuvre. And there was a small part of me that was like, maybe a 2-bank still just clips the top of that prox mine. It's unlikely, but
We'll find out in a minute.
So Grudge does a 2 hard to the right because I think it clears the rock. It does clear the rock, and I pick up the center crate to replace the one that I've lost. Dread hard turns in and boosts, and the 3 straight from Scorch, and takes an evade because I got 1 health left. So your Kylo disappears up behind the gas cloud and boosts around. And the 2-bank doesn't clip the procs by a long distance. I think even if you'd ended up alongside that, you would have been fine.
Yeah, probably looking at it now, yeah.
And takes a focus. So you go range 3 into Grudge, but whiff.
Yep.
We go through. The only person with a shot back is Dread, who rolls crit at hand, but you dodge that. And then I plink up another 2, so 16-10. So I'm like, if I can keep this up for 2 rounds.
Yeah,
great.
I mean, from probably the turn before, I've probably decided that I've lost the game, and because of the slow takeover of objectives, and that move with breach is giving you 5 points, and it's not contributed anymore from that point.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And as we're doing this, we're hitting time, so this is the last round. So okay, I'm like, all right, it's the last round. I've got a 6-point lead, so I can effectively lose any ship because they're worth 4 points. Yes. And if I score 1 objective point, I win. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if you pick up both of them, and Kylo's not in a position to pick up any. If you pick up both of them and kill 1 ship, bearing in mind that both the bombers are full health, and Scorch is worth 3, so you'd have to kill a bomber, pick up both crates, and somehow get the crate off Scorch at the same time, which means you've got to 1-shot a bomber, which is unlikely. Doable, but unlikely. But what I do, there are a couple of things I feel I could have slightly improved on this turn, just to concrete it, I suppose. So we roll for first player, and your first player for the final turn. Dread launches his chaff. What I should have done, I did it with 3-bank, just to basically put it in front of Blackout so that if he goes straight, he's going over it. I should have done it with the 5 straight.
I was going to say that.
I think
get it closer.
Yeah, I think the 5 straight would have put it in a position where if it didn't overlap straight away, it means you have to reposition or you have to go over it. But I think there's actually a chance it overlaps. Although I might be edging it, maybe not. But it just makes life that little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
You do barrel roll to the right to dodge past it. I do
controls everyone.
I do a 4 straight with Grudge because I thought you'd like 1 hard Kylo into the closest gap, boost in and try and get a shot on Scorch or one of the bombers. I wasn't expecting anything else, so I wanted to basically just shoot him past, stick him where I thought no one's going to be, give him a focus. And then this is the second mistake. I won straight Dread. And then you've obviously moved Blackout, so I think, okay, you're probably coming straight. I barrel roll and I link it. I don't even link it to a target. Oh, no, I've already got the lock. I barrel roll to basically give me a higher arc. What I should have done was just picked up the crate that's under the chaff and the prox mine.
Yeah,
because that would protect me against even like the worst dice odds in the world. Like if you rolled 4 crits into a bomber and got fuel leak direct hit, something like that, like I then have 3. There's no way you take all of them.
Yeah.
So it's just the little things that cement it.
So my thinking here was going back to what we're talking about. What's my win condition at this point here, which I probably should have considered a couple of times before, was that I wanted Scorch because he's a reasonably easy kill just on 1 health,
Yeah.
and he's got a crate. And then try and take down a bomber, as unlikely as it is, but with malice and things like that, the ability to flip up cards with his ability, there's a chance. As small as it
Well, that's it. If there's a ship that can put 4 crits into you,
yep,
Kylo can.
It's going to be Kylo. So what I was thinking you're going to do is what I would do. What I was thought I would do is I'm just going to turn out, protect the lead. I don't have to I don't have to engage. I've got loads of health left. So that turn in between the gas cloud and the debris to the left of Kylo, that's not an option for me because it doesn't give me a shot if you're exiting away. And that's the reason why I choose the move that Kyle's about to do.
Yeah.
And again, same with Blackout is I'm not interested in bottom bomber. I want to go after Scorch. And I know Scorch is going to turn out, or he's going to be in the vicinity where he is. I am stressed and I do want modded shot, and I want to get there as close as possible. So hence why sensitive controls out the way, give me that clear line, then straight in to try and get as close as possible and get that shot.
So I think you end up doing a 3 straight, I want to say.
Yeah. I didn't think you were going to be that far away. I thought maybe you'd be probably in line with the rock. But hey, I would like to have been another two closer. But...
So so you take the focus, and then I think you do. Is that too hard with Kylo?
Yep.
Which obviously puts him looking at the debris, but you can barrel roll out of that, which is fine. Which you do. So you line up the bullseye.
Yes.
But you rotate the turret, and then we just have a quick natter here. And I was like,
yep.
Don't do that. You've lined up the bullseye. Link it into a jam with the enhanced jamming suite.
Yes.
Because you'll get rid of the focus that Grudge is carrying.
Yeah. Because I had a senior moment thinking the turret was the bullseye.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, it's a separate arc. So,
yeah. So yeah, we here we go. Just looking at the cards. Because these games aren't about who wins and who loses. It's about about learning the lists and
exactly.
Getting the practice in. And like, obviously, we're squadron mates, so we want each other to do as well as possible. So like, no,
yes.
So that's why I mentioned it. It's like, no, you want to jam here, get it off, which we do. So Blackout goes into Scorch, rolls 3 lots of paint for 3 hits. I roll 1 paint, which is the wrong kind of paint. Spend my evade, but die. Drop the crate. Kylo range 1s into Grudge. Rolls hit, crit, focus. Excuse me. You spend a force for Malice to turn it into 2 crits. But I roll 2 evades. So I must have not updated the overlay here, because 2 crits go through. And I get a blinded and a wounded. Oh, there you go. That's me updating it. And then the only shot I have back is Grudge into Kylo at range 1. I have no green token because you jammed it off, so you've got the extra dice. You've regen force because I took a pilot crit. Uh, and I think I rolled hit crit. You roll 2 of 8. Kylo takes that crit, and it ends up 17-13. Um, but I feel the mid game could have swapped either way. It was quite an interesting one. It was only literally when Breach died, I suppose, that I felt I've got a good chance of getting this.
Yeah, yeah. That's not having that single ship in. It's a quarter of my list. Is quite significant. But yeah, I mean, I like I said at the time, I really enjoyed the game. It's interesting. I think the list performed well. I think obviously Crispy's list is it's a really good list in itself. So
No, but the fact that
uh,
you've brought this and you've done really well against it. Like, I'm not going to say dice won it because we lobbed into each other. I think we both had reasonably good dice actually.
yeah, I didn't even think about that. So
No,
I'm looking at the dice because it was just it
I,
was
I don't.
the
I don't think there was anything. So, but I don't. By the same extension, I don't think that like anyone particularly outflew anyone either. I thought we were both flying quite well. I think early stages, I during the game, I was feeling like you were outflying me quite a lot. You baited me into taking my bombers out.
yeah.
But I suppose I feel I was reasonably lucky that I didn't take too much punishment for that. Before they could get back
Yeah,
in. Like I lost Kylo, but at least by the time Kylo died, I was pushing punishment back. I took out your Malus that turn. I'd knocked some shields off, um, and then I think end game it just came down to I had more ships left.
yes,
That one extra ship does make a difference sometimes. Sometimes it
yeah, it
doesn't.
does. I'd agree. I mean, I mean, I got the I'd probably say I got the engagement I wanted. My initial plan worked, baiting the bombers in, then getting Blackout out. I think getting your Kylo was a little bit fortuitous, because you just got clumped up in there. I think I would have got him maybe the turn after or the turn after that, but I would like to have had my Malorus just maybe for one more turn,
Yeah.
but I don't know what about anybody else or yourself, Sean. I always find that Malorus is the first one to die,
See,
and
if
it's not because I play her aggressively. She just
I
likes glitter sticks too much. I think.
Yeah, I need more time because the only person I've played against with it is a couple of games against Sam, and his opinion is just like if she's using her ability, there's no point shooting her, so he doesn't. So yeah, I need to get more reps.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the interesting thing I felt about this game is it doesn't show it on the outlay, but obviously I scored 17 to your 13. Of those 17 points, 9 of them were objective points. And I believe you scored a single objective point.
Yep.
So
Thanks for bringing it up,
no, no,
Sean.
no, no. But it is
Only joking.
like if
Yeah.
if I hadn't have scored those 9 objective points, you win. On pure death, you win. I've killed 8 points. You've killed 12 of mine.
Yeah.
So
But
even when
that just goes. Yeah.
I say
Sorry.
it,
That just goes to show the how how the scenarios can influence a game,
yeah,
and that's what I like about it.
even when it's the bad scenario that doesn't um I say that the one that we all don't like, we all think salvage is I don't say least enjoyable, but the one most lists struggle with, and we're like great when it comes up. But
So, do you think then if your list, if you sort of go right, you as in the general, and you sort of go right, salvage mission isn't very good for me, and if you figure out a way to play that, and like you said, salvage isn't good for any particular faction, then surely that must give you an advantage over other players, then, isn't it? If you can find a way to play it.
yes, but I suppose if you concentrate too much on salvage, you're going to compromise yourself on the other three.
Yeah, sorry, so my list I won't change for a particular mission. This will fly every
Yeah,
single one. And it's not built around a particular scenario. what I've built into the list is like tools or mechanics
Yeah.
that should help me with it. So um, yes, I can't use plasma torps to knock crates off in this one, but hence why Blackout's got mag pulse,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously mag pulse is a pain anyway. So Kylo with Malice. So in this list, I've built in things that should help me in a salvage mission, even though I didn't use them today. But yeah, that's kind of how I've approached it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine the majority of people kind of have that. I mean, me personally, I kind of ignore the objectives when I'm list building to the extent of what I'll build a list, and I'll build the list almost as if I was flying in 2.0, I suppose, of how well do I think this will perform, and then I consider the scenarios in the sense of upgrades. And that, more often than not, is just about crit generation for salvage. The other
Yeah,
scenarios, I don't think you can hugely list build for, because okay, chance is effectively 2.0 with a little
yeah,
tweak. Assault of Satellite Ray is about where you're positioning your ships. So, okay, you can think about your ship choice. Ships that can reposition are good because you can get them into more places. But I kind of like those ships anyway, so I tend to aim towards those, or large or medium bases, which is the other style of list I like flying. And I suppose what's the last one that I can't think of that you tag? Scramble the transmissions. I suppose you just need to think which of your ships can afford to take a hit without having a mod for defense, or have a built-in mod for defense.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but those, like, I wouldn't take a ship because it's specific. I wouldn't say this ship's got a mechanic that will help me on scramble. I'll
brilliant.
take it because it'll help me on everything.
Yeah,
If it's got a built-in defense, like Malorus, the ability to do that focus conversion is great on anything. If I then end up going, oh cool, she can tag us, scramble a transmission because I know I'm going to get a focus. Brilliant, but that's not my overriding concern.
oh, yeah, yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah,
Like, I feel that the scenarios are important, but not more important than killing ships. Vice versa, I don't think most of the time killing ships is more important than the scenario, unless that is the one time you build a list with scenarios in mind of basically, I'm going to ignore the scenarios and kill
yeah.
everything. Rebel Alpha Strike,
Yeah, I was going to say
yeah,
like your Rebel Alpha Strike.
you,
Yeah,
you just
so
don't play the scenario
yeah,
and try and murder stuff.
yeah.
Because if you have got if you can murder fast, your opponent's not going to score 20 points in scenario points.
The game's not going to last that long, is it?
Well,
So
no, exactly.
yeah,
I mean, this is a slightly longer than average at 8 games in. I couldn't tell you how many games that I've played since 2.5 came in February, but I've had one game go to 12 rounds.
wow.
Um,
Okay.
so
That's really funny as well, because a lot of people were going when it first came out, if I remember rightly, they're going 12 rounds. That's not long enough. We play longer than that, and it's like, well, wait a minute, no, you don't.
there's so much more to do. I think because you've got all the upgrades and things like that. You've got
Yeah,
lots more, things like the system phase reposition. You've got the more bombs, the more little things like elusive. The time it takes to re-roll that dice again, all those sorts of things. It adds in time.
I think it was a bit more like the rounds. Like they said, oh yeah, we play more than 12 rounds. It's like, well,
Well, that's what I mean.
that's your fact.
But you
Yeah,
might
well,
off in 2.0 if you're playing a 3-ship
oh, of course, sorry,
AC
yeah,
list,
yeah,
then you really might have played more than 12 rounds. I
yeah,
think average amount of rounds has come down because
yeah,
each round is taking longer.
yeah.
Um, but on
But
that note, we had better wrap it up because we've been nattering a long time.
oh, you have, God, yeah.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
we're at
Thank you,
our
Sean.
hour 45. No, absolute pleasure to have you on. Hopefully next week we'll be back to normal with Sam. We've got a game to review that won't be either of us playing, so that'll be quite fun. I'm on holiday next week, but I'm not as ungrateful as Sam, and I don't bugger off anywhere, so I will be here to record. And on that note, I'll just say goodbye, and thanks for coming on, Tony.
Thanks. All right, cheers, guys. See you later. Bye.